Hello, welcome to Jackrabbit Journal. Great weekend for the SDSU basketball teams. They win 4 games by a combined total of 107 points. The men particularly are streaking right now, 8 wins in a row, as all of the new faces and the moving parts that we've been talking about coming together in fine fashion right now.
We would have to give the credit to our assistant coaches. They're the ones that went out and found them and spent, the most time with them, recruiting them and bringing them here. And we obviously have a lot of players that are playing this year that didn't play for us last year, that are first-year guys. But we still have some guys, like Jake that have been here and are very experienced. But there's a lot of things that go into it, and it's not an exact science. I think, the team chemistry part of it is worked on even more so by the players than it is by the coaches. And I think that our older kids have done a good job of holding the team together. Guys like Zach, and all that stuff happens in the summer, really. I mean, when we spend time here together in the summer, and even the coaches aren't around a lot because we are recruiting, trying to bring in new players. Those guys spend a lot of time together, and I think they've worked hard on developing good team chemistry and camaraderie.
Well, Nagy says he is always amazed at the way the chemistry and the relationships work out, but he and his assistants have been mad scientists this year that have taken a guy from Flint, Michigan, and a guy from Winter, South Dakota, combined with a kid from Chicago and a kid from Sioux Falls, and mixed them up with a young man from small-town Iowa and a kid from small-town Oklahoma to create a cohesive unit disguised as a really good basketball team.
Everybody talks about that, like team chemistry, but if I was to be honest, I've seen teams that don't necessarily get along all that well off the floor that win, and I would say that talent and toughness is probably the most important part of that versus how much guys like each other all the time. I think that the chemistry part of it is important, but I think certainly talent might be the most important thing.
Well, the Jacks seem to have some of that this season, too. Junior college transfer DeAndre Parks with 26 points in a 22-point win over Omaha last week. Jake Biddle with 21 in that same game by literally making every shot that he took. George Marshall with 20 points on Saturday in a 30-point rout of Denver, in which the Jacks hold the Pioneers to just 39 points, their lowest of the season.
I think with them, you're either going to give up one thing or the other. You're either going to give up open threes or you're going to give up backdoor cuts. It's very difficult to guard both of them. And so we're built on not giving up easy baskets, and so we do everything we can not to give up backdoor cuts. Now, against them, it almost goes against everything you teach your guys about being toward the basketball. You almost have to be between your guy and the basket, which we never tell our guys to do other than when we play Denver. And so there's a lot of things that we have to go away from fundamentally in order to guard them, which makes it very difficult for us to guard them. But I think our guys, defense requires obviously a high level of commitment, but also requires a high level of focus if you're going to be good. And I think that our guys did a good job of just having good focus, not getting beat on backdoor cuts, trying to keep our defense tight. And if they're going to beat us, try to make them beat us with contested jump shots.
And even that outstanding defensive performance has been right in line with an overall defensive effort during this current 8-game win streak that may be as good as Jacks fans have ever seen.
I don't know everything that goes into that. I know that, we're not as big, particularly at the guard positions as we have been in the past, and I always liked big guards. But we are quicker. And I think, it's harder to drive us one-on-one. There's just a commitment level, I think, out of our players that has been very good to not get beat off the dribble, because that's the main thing about man-man defense. If you don't require help, then it's a lot easier to guard people. But if you're always getting beat off the dribble, requiring help, and then you're going to give up easy shots. And obviously we have a very good big guy near the rim that makes it very difficult to score. And that always helps defense. And so, I think consistently we've been good defensively. We haven't always been good offensively. The last 4 games have been really good, which is great. But I don't think you can count on that, particularly when you go on the road. I think you have to be able to count on your defense when you go on the road.
Well, Jackrabbits do hit the road this week. They play at Fort Wayne on Thursday. Fort Wayne's the second hottest team in the league right now behind the Jacks, and more on that game coming up later with Coach Nagy. Up next, though, we've been talking about all this team chemistry. We've got the story on a kid who transferred to SDSU mainly because of their pharmacy major, and he has ended up being a big part of the basketball program this season.
Jackrabbit Journal on Midco Sports Network is presented by Billionauto.com.
Welcome back to Jackrabbit Journal. Well, Keaton Moffitt has kind of been the Swiss Army knife for the Jackrabbit men's basketball team this season. He is a do-it-all player who was really just looking to get into a good pharmacy program when he transferred to South Dakota State University. David Brown has more on Moffitt.
Keaton Moffitt's always been a smart guy, but the Sioux Falls native admits he may have made a mistake coming out of high school. The O'Gorman graduate was offered a walk-on role at South Dakota State, where he would redshirt his freshman season, or the chance to play immediately at Division II University of Sioux Falls.
Initially, I just wasn't sure if I wanted to go do the 5-year plan, and so I just decided to go to USF because I could start right away, and they wanted me to play right away too, so that was a big decision.
After 2 years at home, Moffitt decided to switch majors from pre-med to pharmacy. He needed to transfer to a different school, and SDSU offered both the right education and the right opportunity.
I really wanted to keep playing, and SDSU, they obviously have one of the best pharmacy programs in the state, and it's close by. I live in Sioux Falls, so it was just a good option overall.
In a case of deja vu, Moffitt was asked to redshirt the 2013-14 season and accept a walk-on role with the Jacks. His initial path may have been delayed a few years, but the chip on his shoulder remained.
It was a little bit tough at first. You know, I came in during Brazil. We had that big trip to Brazil, and I played quite a bit down there. And so I kind of figured, I'd have a pretty big role at the start of the season. And then, I didn't play much.
He's been a utility guy for us, he really has, and I mean, he's gone from not playing to playing a lot to not playing to playing a lot.
To be honest, I came in here kind of thinking, I just needed to work my way into the system. I needed to prove myself a little bit, and yeah, I came in with the intention that I was going to play.
Moffitt started 5 games early in the non-conference season, but his minutes started to go down once Wisconsin transfer George Marshall became eligible. It wasn't until the start of Summit League play that he figured out his best role as the first guard off the bench.
He's a good rebounder, he's a good offensive rebounder, plays with great energy, just very unselfish young man, and has been willing to take whatever role we've given him, which has been several different ones this year, and he takes them on and just has a good attitude. He's very smart.
I like coming off the bench. I feel like I give a lot of energy, and if we need it, then I need to be that guy that can provide it for us.
Since the beginning of January, Moffitt's averaged 18 minutes a game, and while his stat line may not be eye-popping, the instincts and intangibles are what coaches see.
My numbers aren't great, but I do a lot of things well, I think.
The thing that we want him to do is not turn it over, make good passes, and play great defense, and he does all that for us.
Well, when we come back on the Journal, we turn our attention to the Rabbit women. Coach Johnston talking about a blowout of the Bison and why playing hard is so hard at this point in the season.
Jackrabbit Journal on Midco Sports Network is presented by Billionauto.com.
All right, now to the Jackrabbit women's basketball program. They had that break in the schedule, and then they came back with 2 blowout wins over the weekend. Remember, the Jacks had 8 days without a game before taking on Oral Roberts and then North Dakota State, and Coach Johnston says that they used that time to practice to get closer to perfect.
You can get into this time of the year and just pretty much game plan, and you go away from working on some of the basic things that make you good offensively and defensively. All you're doing is preparing for the next team. So we were able to put some time into our defensive philosophy, and I think the amount of time we put into defense just helped us with our overall effort and energy. Defense is hard, and it requires a great deal of concentration and toughness, and sometimes those qualities spill over into the offensive side. They spill over into how you pass. They spill over into how you run the floor, how you dive for loose balls. And so I really think that time to work on defense away from game planning definitely helped us out.
The Jackrabbits opened the week with a win against Oral Roberts, but SDSU did get off to a bit of a slow start, going against 6'7" center Vicky McIntyre. She blocked 9 Jackrabbit shots in the game.
McIntyre, the post player for Oral Roberts, I think her presence maybe got us a little bit out of sync in the first few minutes. We didn't play poorly. We didn't turn it over. We didn't make a lot of defensive mistakes, but we just weren't very aggressive. And I'd say about after that first media timeout, the team did a great job of responding. A lot of pressure on them. They started to turn the ball over a lot. We got some transition baskets because of that where we didn't have to score against her in the half court. And I think that really helped our team get their feet under them. We played pretty well after that whole stretch.
McIntyre ends up with 16 points and 20 rebounds to go with those 9 block shots. But the Jacks get it figured out. Macy Miller leads the way with 16 points. The Jacks only turn it over 8 times, their second lowest total this season. SDSU puts together a 14-0 run and an 11-0 run in the first half, and they beat Oral Roberts by 25. And then on Saturday against North Dakota State, remember the Bison beat the Jacks in Fargo last month, but it was quite a different outcome this time.
I thought we really struggled up in Fargo. Didn't play well, and they did play well. Made shots, and then Brooke Lamar got herself going. We just didn't take anything away up in Fargo. It was pretty much kind of they get to run through their stuff, do what they want. If they make shots, we're in trouble. If they miss shots, we're probably in good position. I thought in this game we tried to take a lot of things away. We didn't let them get comfortable in their kind of triangle offense. Took some of their sets, I think, away from them. And they really became a penetration team where they had to be aggressive going to the basket because they couldn't pass the ball where they wanted to. And that's hard to guard too. But we just didn't let everybody else get so comfortable as we did up in Fargo. They really had to work to even get the ball to the spots they wanted to. So everybody's a little further from the basket, maybe a little more disrupted, and definitely helped overall because our energy level in that game was much better.
Well, Jacks don't mess around. They lead the entire ball game, go up by 33 points late in the second half, and win it by 30. They dominate in the paint and on the fast break.
Our transition was really good in that game because of some turnovers, because of the missed shots. We missed a lot of easy transition baskets, too. We probably left 10, 12 points out there. The crowd was great, over 3,800 people there, so I think the energy in the gym was really good. A rivalry game. And I think sometimes maybe we were a little bit too hyped up with some of those shots, but there'd be very few things I could find in that game and be disappointed about. I just was really proud of our effort, how hard we played, and we executed very well, too.
Mariah Claren only plays 23 minutes but scores 21 points and grabs 12 rebounds against the Bison, and lately she is playing like a senior should.
She struggled early in January, and to her credit, she's really found a good comfort place for herself mentally. Really has a great understanding how she can help us on the floor. She's defending really well, rebounding really well. Really solid offensively, too. There's games where she gets 21 like she did against North Dakota State. Other games she might get 10. And she's fine either way as long as she defends, rebounds, does all those other things we need her to.
And as the Jacks get into the final month of the regular season, Coach keeps coming back to effort. And what a big deal it is to be able to bring it consistently.
Consistency this time of year is so important. That's what makes someone like Macy Miller so unique as a freshman because she has been so consistent. But a lot of our other young players have some ups and downs this time of year. A couple of them right now have hit kind of a little bit of a wall, and you can kind of see that they're struggling to have that same effort level. And it doesn't come from a bad place. It just comes from the fact that it's a long year, playing against great competition. The expectations and pressure is much higher than what they've ever faced before. So we'll try and work hard with those freshmen and sophomore, get them moving forward. I thought our sophomore group really played hard this weekend. Clarissa Ober didn't score a lot of points, but she was all over the place, diving for balls, getting on the offensive glass, playing well defensively. I thought the same could be said for like China and Carrie. Carrie had, I think, one of the best weekends she's had in a while. She made a lot of plays away from the ball. So if we can keep that effort level from that group, that'll help those freshmen out too.
Well, it seems like just yesterday that Rachel Wolters was a freshman, but she is now a senior for the Jackrabbits. She is a sharpshooter, and she is in the Rapid Fire interview coming up next.
Jackrabbit Journal on Midco Sports Network is presented by Billionauto.com.
Rachel Wolters is in her senior season now with the Jackrabbits. She is a great shooter. She is a good student, but a little shaky on her presidential history. Here is Rachel Wolters in this week's Rapid Fire interview with David Brown.
You're an alum of Washington High School, so can you name all 4 presidents on Mount Rushmore?
Now that you put me on the spot, I probably can't.
This is why we do this.
Oh, man.
Your alma mater's one of them.
Well, I knew that. Washington, Roosevelt, Jefferson, and Lincoln.
Hey, you got it. You just got to remember the Sioux Falls schools and then replace Jefferson
Honestly,
with
I
O'Gorman.
never put that together.
I'm glad I could inform you. Why are you number 23?
Well, I was 24 all throughout high school. I was just given that number my freshman year, and then I got here and Megan had 24, so 23 was the next closest thing.
Do you like 23, or did you just choose it because Megan had 24 already?
That, and it was the jersey I tried on when I came on my visit, so I just went with it.
What is your guilty pleasure song?
I'd say any song by Iggy Azalea.
Anyone in particular, fancy, or
Just all of them.
what's your favorite food?
I like steak a lot. I like to make it at home.
Where do you have it done? Medium rare?
Medium rare.
Target or Walmart?
Target.
Everyone says Target. What's your favorite AJ moment?
A few years ago, I wore a pink headband to practice, and his comments all day towards me just were about that. So now I think twice usually about wearing colorful headbands to practice.
Did you just want it to be yellow or blue, or?
I think I just go with black most of the time unless I'm feeling crazy.
What is your favorite movie?
I really like Harry Potter, all of them.
Of the, I guess there are 8 movies.
Yeah.
Which one would you pick to watch if you were forced to choose?
Probably the last one, part 2.
The best prank either you've played or that's been played on you? And it doesn't even have to be here, it can be any time in your life.
I think my sophomore year in the apartments during the summer, Chloe and Jess dyed our toothbrushes and toothpaste blue, put blue dye in them, so we weren't able to brush our teeth that morning.
Or did you brush your teeth and find out that?
No, I didn't make it that far.
How'd you find out then?
Well, I just took it out of the drawer and saw it like that.
Who's the best student on the team?
Megan Wojtaszek.
Easy?
Easy.
All right, then the last one, what I ask everyone, who would win the horse contest between you and your teammates?
Well, since everyone's saying Macy, I might change it up, but I've seen Gabby make some pretty crazy shots in her days, so I'd probably go with Gabby.
All right, there you go, you're done.
Our thanks to Rachel Wolters for being a great sport. And a quick check on another Wolters, different spelling, no relation, and technically Wolters and not Walters. Anyway, what is going to become of former Jackrabbit All-American Nate Wolters? He was released by the Milwaukee Bucks and then signed back-to-back 10-day contracts with the New Orleans Pelicans, but the Pelicans did not sign him any further than that, so he was let go by them this week. Wolters is back on the market now. He averaged just under 2 points and 2 rebounds per game in 10 games in New Orleans, but he only got 11 minutes total in his last 3 games there. So, might the Minnesota Timberwolves be interested in a home state hero? Come on, Flip Saunders, give him a chance. They could use him in Minnesota. Anyway, hopefully Wolters lands somewhere with a deal for the rest of the season. When we come back, a look at the week ahead for the Jackrabbits, including the men with what may be their biggest road test coming up of the season.
Jackrabbit Journal on Midco Sports Network is presented by Billionauto.com.
Welcome back to Jack Journal. We have the Jackrabbit women's game live on Midco Sports Network this Sunday afternoon. They take on Fort Wayne. It tips off at 4 o'clock. And the Jackrabbits beat the Dons by 1 point in Fort Wayne 3 weeks ago on a Macy Miller free throw with 1/10 of a second left after the Jacks had a furious finish to that one just to get that free throw. Fort Wayne has one of the best guards in the league in Haley Seibert. The Jackrabbits held her down in that game, but Fort Wayne has made more threes than anybody else in the Summit League so far this season.
Fort Wayne's just so good at spreading teams out. They can play 4 guards, 5 guards. This year they can go big too. They've got a little bit more size. Their zone, I think, caused us some problems last time. And their penetration causes problems. Just their ability to get to the basket. And that was a stretch where we just weren't defending penetration very well. Weren't defending the three-point line very well. I think they shot a high percentage against us. We were fortunate to get out of there with a win. We rebounded really well. We made some big plays down the stretch. Macy Miller had some really critical rebound putbacks. They made it tough. And if you look at Fort Wayne's record right now, they've lost 3-4 conference games by a possession. And so they're much better than their record shows. It'll be a tough one for us.
That will be a tough test, even at home for the Jackrabbits. Well, here are the Women's Summit League standings. The Jacks are a game behind that other team right now, and they will play each other in Brookings coming up on February 21st in the rematch. The Jackrabbits still have Western Illinois and IUPUI coming back to Frost Arena in the last 2 games of the regular season. Well, the Jackrabbit men, meanwhile, also play Fort Wayne next. It's at Fort Wayne on Thursday. The Jacks pounded them at home 2 weeks ago, which might make this upcoming game even that much tougher.
This will be the first game that we played, our first team we played on the road where we've already beaten them at home. And so, we know how that is. I mean, we just played Denver. They beat us at home, and it's hard to go back to somebody's place because they'll be highly motivated, very focused, and so it will be a very good test for our players.
Well, Fort Wayne is just 4-5 in the league so far, but they have won their last 3 games, including a win at home against North Dakota State. The Jackrabbits will play at IUPUI on Saturday. IUPUI lost at home to North Dakota State, but it was in overtime, and the Jags do have home wins against Denver and South Dakota, so tough weekend coming up for the SDSU men. Another reminder, women's game live here on Midco Sports Network on Sunday as the women take on Fort Wayne, and then we've got the men against North Dakota State as well coming up on Valentine's Day. Check us out on YouTube and Twitter. We will see you next week on Jackrabbit Journal.